The confetti is barely settled for Ohio State's 9th ever national championship, and two program cornerstones are back to work. Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith, maybe the two best players in the nation, for head coach Ryan Day as he gets set to unveil the 2025 Buckeyes. Welcome to the Ohio State spring football game. The Scarlet taking on the Gray today in Columbus. We get our first look at the 2025 Ohio State Buckeyes. And inside the home of the national champions, Yogi Roth, Jake Butt, Guy Haberman, the NFL draft a week away, and Ohio State expected to tie a record with 15 players drafted. Jake, that means that the roster that is defending the national championship is different than the one that won it.
Even beyond just defending, they have a chance to be a dynasty. That's how talented this roster is. That's how well they've recruited. Of course, a chance today to see some of those new young faces. Ultimately, the ceiling of this team is going to be decided by the quarterbacks. It's a two-man race. Julian Sayin is more of your traditional pocket passer, about 6 foot tall, very quick, beautiful release. He's competing with Lincoln Kienholz, who's of the Will Howard mold. Big, strong, dual threat athlete. Speaking of young, talented, how about the five-star freshman Tavian St. Clair? Get a look at him as well. We see them working with new offensive coordinator Brian Hartline today. Meanwhile, Yogi, there's no question what happened last year. This was the #1 defense in the nation. A change there, plenty on the roster, but Matt Patricia, the new defensive coordinator.
Tremendous experience, great success in the NFL, and he's got a bunch of NFL players on this roster, led by Caleb Downs, the All-American. He can do a little bit of everything for Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator. He's so experienced. I think he'll put Downs all over the place within this defense, really utilizing a lot of this personnel that has a chance to thrive on this side of the ball. Sonny Styles returns as well. He's a leader. He's a vocal leader. Guys are looking to him to set the example for this program. Inexperience, but I'll tell you what, a ton of talent, and they've been around this program.
Star power, that is a consistent here at Ohio State, and the head coach, no doubt he's one as well. Ryan Day will talk with Tyvis Powell when we come back. Just about time for the start of the spring game. Let's go down to the field. Tyvis Powell with Ryan Day.
Hey, Coach, last year y'all lost a lot of talent on this team to the NFL draft. What do you want to see out of your team today?
Well, we still have a lot of talent. What we lost the most was experience. And so today's an opportunity to get more experience of playing in front of a crowd, getting a game experience under their belt, which is going to be important. So we'll grade it just like a game and use it as an opportunity to get ourselves ready for the first game.
And obviously the biggest question mark that everybody want to know is the quarterback position. What do you want to see out of those two guys or those three guys today?
Just want to see them continue to grow and see it carry over from what we're seeing at practice. You know, when you put them in a game-like environment, you want to see how they handle, everything that comes with being in a game and managing the game, taking care of the football, playing well on third down in the red zone, and if a 2-minute shows up.
Thank you, Coach. Have a good day today.
All right, Tyvis, I hope you'll be having fun all day on the field. And look, Ryan Day just answered the question. We can't hide from the fact that around the nation, the spring game is becoming a little bit extinct, but not here, in part because of what he just said. He's got new quarterbacks, and he wants them to play in front of a crowd.
And he knows the next time that the starter rolls out, when that's decided, it's going to be against Texas, a team they played in the semifinals in the college football playoff. They're going to be playing right here in this stadium. So navigating the communication, the performance anxiety, getting a call, an audible. Like, we're not going to see the entirety of the offense or defensive scheme today, Guy and Jake, but what we will see is a variety of situations, and that's exactly what Coach Ryan Day referenced, that he wants to see of how they can navigate that.
Carnell Tate just took the opening kick. It'll come out to the 35-yard line. We'll see the ones against the ones. They will not tackle. The twos against the twos, they will tackle. And the quarterbacks wearing the black uniforms, they were live last Saturday. They are not live today. Lincoln Kienholz will get the first snap today, the third-year man at the most extensive playing experience of his career over a year ago in the bowl game, the Cotton Bowl against Missouri, and he is throwing on the move, a long throw complete to Bryson Rogers. Here's how the scoring works today. Jake, you're in charge of this.
The spring game, and as is true in spring games, even this is probably fluid, right? We'll stay on our toes up here in the booth.
That's exactly right. The offense, traditional scoring. You can see the defense gets points for touchdown, sacks, takeaways, 3 and outs, and forcing punts.
That's a lot of math for me. As a tight, I can break down cover 2. I can tell you blocking schemes. It's a lot of math.
And we're expecting maybe 2-3 series from the ones against the ones today, guys. But look, we mentioned it in the open. A lot changing on the offensive line. Certainly a quarterback. On the defense, all over the place. Carnell Tate there couldn't hold on. And so a lot of moving parts. But I guess the question is, in a spring game, how do we evaluate the quarterback?
Well, I think the #1 trait to play here at Ohio State, and Ryan Day shared it with us, is you have to have a competitive temperament. Somebody that really sets the temperature in the building. That's what Will Howard, he was exquisite at that in that huge run that they had after the loss to Michigan. I mean, he was really that alpha, that leader for this program. I believe that both quarterbacks have that for this team. Then, what's your discernment like? And that's what I think we're going to see today. Decision-making, understanding where route progressions are going, where you're protected in pass pro.
Here's Keenholz, a long throw, and that zips through the hands a little too high for Jeremiah Smith. 205 career catches. Emeka Egbuka out the door with an Ohio State record, and this man stepping right into those shoes.
Yeah, man that needs no introduction. What more can I say that hasn't been said 100 times? And as we talk about this quarterback battle, the luxury here in Columbus is they have plenty of weapons to throw to. That's the best receiver in college football. Would be one of the best receivers in the NFL as it stands right now. So whoever's under center, plenty of weapons to distribute to.
And Tyvus is going to talk with Emeka coming up. That is Joe McGuire back again to punt for the Buckeyes. We'll see some Jaden Fielding today as well. The kicker is John Froman, the third-year snapper, who comes down to spot that. And Gray, the defense, gets 3 points for the 3 and out.
Yeah, nice job by that defense as well. Like, it's going to be thud when the first groups go against one another, so they're not going to be going live as your reference guy. But on the offensive defensive line, that is all live. I mean, so when you're watching on that previous dive, Kenyatta Jackson and company of the defensive line. Now you see there's 11. C.J. Hicks moves from linebacker to defensive end. The defensive line, it's got to take a big step here from spring to the fall.
And now Julian Sayin, the second-year man who had some light opportunity last year, takes over, and he throws complete to C.J. Donaldson, the transfer from West Virginia, who had a lot of production in 3 years. They're over 30 touchdowns. Julian Sayin, of course, third string last year, comes in early last year, transferring in from Alabama, and just a sophomore, and a big opportunity for the young man from Southern California.
From the moment he stepped on campus, there's been a ton of buzz around Sayin. And really, when you look at Sayin and Keenholz, these are two really different quarterbacks. Julian Sayin is more of your prototypical pocket passer. He's listed at 6'1". Seeing him at practice yesterday, 5'11", 6 foot seems a little bit more reasonable to me. But that's what he does well as a pocket passer. It's that beautiful quick release. He's been viral across social media, and that was an accurate out route. We just saw Lincoln Keenholz miss 2 of those same opportunities on the prior drive.
Well, that was to Mylan Graham, the sophomore, trying to add some depth. That ball is batted and still caught by Brandon Innes, who has said his time is now, and definitely a breakout candidate in this receiving group for Ohio State.
One little thing to notice here, watch this ball get batted. I talked about his height, Yogi. Lincoln is 6'3", a much bigger, longer quarterback. Sayin shorter with shorter arms. That's a curious point to consider going forward in this battle. Obviously, just from a height standpoint, more likely to have balls batted at the line of scrimmage for Sayin.
Some pistol here for C.J. Donaldson. And, of course, the running back room, one that it's gutted when you lose Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Donaldson comes in. James Peoples had the only other really significant carries last year other than the quarterback, Will Howard, and you can see only 10% of the rushing yards are back from last season.
Well, look, here's a reality, Jake, you know this being in the Big Ten for as long as you have been. I mean, you got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to control the ball. Can you do what Ohio State did to Penn State? Run that 4-minute offense to win a game, a big game in this upcoming season. A huge part of that is the downhill run game. This run game at Ohio State, it's often been based out of the pistol. Downhill, get the ball to your backs, and there we go. Nice job finding your tight end, a little corner out.
Jelani Thurman.
Tight end group. How about the depth of this group of Jelani Thurman and company, Max Clare. Jake, I know you love this route. A little play action. Corner out, settles in the zone. Perfect throw, throttles him down, and away you go. And this is the arm talent of Julian Saint, and knowing what the defense is doing out in front of you in his zone, know where the defenders are. Perfect location.
Great play call sequencing too. Ryan Hartline, obviously the new play caller. They ran the play on the previous. They ran the ball on the previous play, and they get into play action and open it up for Jelani Thurman.
Back to the ground, C.J. Donaldson, big hole, and he finally gets cut down in the secondary by Leroy Roker, the sophomore from Fort Myers.
New faces in the backfield, but ultimately watch the offensive line up front here. Look at that big, all the space there in the middle of the defense. A great double team by the new tackle, Philip Daniels, transferring in from Minnesota.
Saying end zone shot, and it's broken up by Aaron Scott Jr. He came in with so much anticipation last year, the #2 corner in the nation in the class, played 74 snaps. There's a lot of competition at cornerback for this defense, and he's a big part of it.
Really physical and just fun watching these guys battle. Look at the end of the play. Hand-to-hand combat. I like it right there. Guys just battling. Defense is saying it's clean. Offense is saying it's a PI. This is what spring's about. I mean, these guys have been going up against each other for now 15 practices. Love seeing that competitive temperament.
Good ball. Good throw.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Emeka Buka down there, you're saying, hey, I make that play.
Sam Williams-Dixon will get his first carry. They're happy to have him back in this running backs.
Just to go back to that previous play, though, Guy, the competition outside receivers and corners is, I mean, this is effectively an NFL program here. Seriously, Ohio State's starting 3 wide receivers, that's an NFL receiver room. Even their second unit, the young guys, they're deep in the secondary. I find it just a point to emphasize here for Ohio State's culture. Devin Sanchez is a 5-star that's not guaranteed to start for this defense. Quincy Porter, Mylan Graham, these guys would start everywhere, but they're here to compete in Columbus.
Sayin throws that complete to Max LeBlanc, the tight end. Speaking of a deep room as well.
No doubt. I think for the quarterback thing, because it's going to get scrutinized and evaluated as it should. When you're playing from like 20 to 20, you're running the offense. When you get down inside the red zone, the tight red zone, this is the discernment that we've been referencing. Can you get the ball out? Are you going to take a sack, right? There's certain rules in the red zone. No picks, no sacks. That's a nice job from Sayin, getting all the way across to number 3 in his progression, getting the ball out, giving him a chance inside the 5, and now the sticks move, and it's 1st and goal.
And C.J. Donaldson back in at running back. Already took the shot to Mylan Graham. He's alone at the top of the screen. And Sayin is looking that way again, and this time he's able to lose the defender who slips and falls. That was Scott, but they can't connect for the touchdown.
It was a great job by Mylan Graham. I mean, he cooked Scott on the release and was wide open. This is something we saw at practice. They were working these fade routes down in the end zone because they have such physically gifted and talented receivers. It's just a little off.
Well, just a little off. But also, this is why you play the spring game. This is why a second-year player has to play in front of 40,000 people or whatever it might be here today. Give him the opportunity.
Back to the ground. Donaldson into the lane. Touchdown, Scarlet.
It's a great drive by Julian Saint. Give a ton of credit to the big fellas up front, though. The movement they were generating in the run game, the double teams, once again, running behind that right side of the offensive line. I believe that's number 70, Philip Daniels, once again, washing the defensive end. And it'd be fun to play running back here in Columbus with those big-time holes.
Man, I want to play any position here. I don't know if we'd be good enough. You would be, man. But, geez, I mean, such talent, you're right, and the drive. Watching that, I felt like I was watching Ohio State, Tennessee in the first round of the playoff, where you just start with the screen, then it was the run. Remember that play with Trigon Henderson down the right sideline? Yeah. It felt like we're watching that. And the point is, with a new play caller, Brian Hartline, as you see the celebration of the fellas after the first touchdown here in the spring game, is that it's the same system that Ryan Day has implemented since he was the offensive coordinator. When you talk to Coach Hartline and Ryan Day, he asked, how do you teach the feel for calling plays? There's Coach Hartline right there in the middle. He said, well, we want to think the same. And that's where they're at right now. They've walked into many meetings where you're scripting practice, a 2-minute drill, whatever the situation might be, and they're saying, I'm thinking about this. Oh, I was just thinking about that. And that, to me, is when the great staffs really come up. It reminds me of way back in the day Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, when they were both co-coordinators at USC under Pete Carroll, they all thought the same. And look at how that impacted them as their careers went on. I think that Brian Hartline's got a chance to be one of the great play callers in the country.
#1 offense against the #1 defense again. And Brian Hartline, by the way, will be on the field for the second half calling plays. Max Clare, nearly a spectacular back shoulder cover there by Davison Igbinosun, the tight end from Purdue. All right, how good is he, Jake?
He is Mackey Award good. That's how talented he is. I think this is one of the more underrated pickups of any team in college football this offseason. We've talked about how talented Ohio State's wide receivers are. Teams are going to have to play split safety coverage, which means this guy right here is going to be matched up one-on-one on linebackers. Good luck. There's not very many, if any, linebackers in college football that are going to be able to cover him.
Coming from a man who won the Mackey, and you're on the board for them.
On the board, so I'm starting the way for Max Clare.
He was the #1 target, of course, at Purdue last year. He enters and hits the ground running. And look, he is part of a group of players that was here in January to watch this team, be a part of this team that won the national title.
I think it's an underrated storyline, whether it's the mid-year enrollees that were true freshmen or the portal guys. They came in, and the veterans of last year's national championship team voted on, yeah, we want them to come. We want them to be part of the brotherhood. They watched how they were so mission-minded, how they attacked practice, meetings, preparation, and it's really elevated and set the standard for the new faces.
There's Jeremiah Smith. He almost gets glossed over a little bit because what more can you say about a guy who might be the best player in college football, a Heisman candidate? So, Yogi, what more can you say about him?
Well, I think that he's really working at his craft. So what does that mean? Well, when you're a freshman, you come in and you want to get a hold of your position. You're going to run a handful of routes because you wanted to get a guy like Jeremiah Smith on the field. Midway through the season, we're watching him on reverses, end arounds, special trick plays. You watch the playoffs, and all of a sudden against Oregon, he's the best player in America. And I think now for this spring, it's working on understanding how defensive backs think. The first 5 yards of a route, what's a corner thinking? Second 5 yards of a route, what's a safety overhang player thinking? And then understanding those little nuances of the craft.
That's Carnell Tate, and it's Julian Sand getting his opportunity here with the one offense. Should mention that as well. Keenholz the first time around, Sand this time. Here's what Jeremiah Smith did as a freshman.
Well, one thing that's new, he's effectively a rock star. I mean, he might be the most popular guy in the city of Columbus, and you're looking at a Heisman campaign this year. So good. Wouldn't be surprised if he wins it in back-to-back years. That's how talented he is, and really, he has a maturity about him. You know, he's a professional. From the minute he walked on campus, he treats this like a business. He understands he wants to be one of the best to play the game. And I'll go back a little bit. The culture in this Buckeye receiver room is as good as you'll find in college football.
Sand steps up, and there is Tate with the reception, beat Igbinosun, and he is touchdown at the 27-yard line.
Impressive play, impressive protection. Big reason is this new man right here, another transfer, Ethan Oniawa from Rice. Really talented player at the left tackle position. We had a chance to talk to Mike Bloomgren, his former head coach, now the offensive line coach for your Cleveland Browns. Not only was he a medical engineering student at Rice, so he's brilliant. He's got it above the shoulders. He's so physical at the line of scrimmage, really special in pass protection. He has a chance to be an anchor on this offensive front.
He's transformed his body, too. He's lost about 30 pounds since getting on campus. You know, there's some nuance to the spring game. Everybody loves offense. This is exciting. We're getting to see the quarterback saying spin it around. We're getting to see some of the new running backs. You're playing against your defense, though. And the flip side's also true, which is, Yogi, you talked about in the open, all these new faces defensively. It's the #1 defense in America last year. Right now, the offense is having their way. Even that first 3-and-out drive, that was more from missed passes by Keenholz than it was great defense.
Well, we haven't seen a blitz. I'm sure that was part of the protocol coming into today. Hey, Matt Patricia, let's just make sure your defensive guys come out of this thing healthy. You don't want to show too much, but you're right. They have a bunch of players, and I love this, that could have left but said, no, I want to be part of this program, but haven't played a ton of snaps. We see a little seam route to tight end.
And there is Max Clare's first touchdown as a Buckeye in front of fans.
He gets lost there too, doesn't get carried in zone coverage. They play that too high that you referenced. Really impressive. There he is right there, lined up number 86. Nice job on the release, doesn't get touched right inside. Sonny Styles, linebacker, doesn't get depth in Arvell Reese. Nice job in the red zone anticipating that.
But that right there structurally is why I'm so high on Max Clare. Split safety defense. Why? Because teams have to have safety coverage and help because of the talent Ohio State has at the wide receiver position. Max Clare, Ohio State has had some talented tight ends come through, but Max Clare is different just in the way he moves. He's an excellent route runner. He reminds me of Colston Loveland from Michigan, and we got a great Buckeye safety in Tyvis Powell. I know we've been going back and forth on this a little bit. Tyvis, can you speak to the challenges that you have in that safety room and how you have to count for all these weapons?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about all the wide receivers that Ohio State has and that's developed, you have to pay them attention. So the safeties, oftentimes, you're going to see that too high safety look because they don't want to get beat deep. They want to help these corners out to where a guy like Max Clare will be a guy who will be able to benefit from that because now you have linebackers on him. Nobody's really paying him attention. And you see the play that he just made for that touchdown. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that this season.
Lincoln Kienholz back out for his second series. This time he gets his first opportunity with the twos. It was interesting to hear Philip Beldy, one of the freshman receivers. He said, when Brian Hartline offers you a scholarship as a wide receiver, you got to take it. And this is part of the reason why.
Yeah, well, you play here, you start here, you're going to find your way getting drafted into the NFL and starting on a roster. It's just what the standard is. So to Jake's point, and to what Tyvis just referenced, you got a tight end now that can line up at the slot. He could stand up. He could put his hand in the dirt. And when you look at the last 5 seasons, there hasn't been a tight end at Ohio State that's had over 41 catches. Cade Stover had the most in 23 with 41 grabs. I think it's over 50 easy for this young man. He's so gifted. And I think it's going to be such a challenge for defensive coordinators saying, what personnel is Ohio State in? How do you navigate? Is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he an H-back? He might be a fullback. You know they'll get creative with him.
Football's a game of matchups. You want to put defenses in binds as much as possible. And to play tight end at Ohio State, you have to be able to block. You have to be able to pass protect. You love to line the tight end off the ball and move them around, insert on the linebackers. The more Max Clare and Jelani Thurman, I mean, gosh, this is the deepest tight end room Ohio State has had, maybe ever, but certainly in a really long time. The more they can get involved in the run game, the more they'll be able to open up in the pass game and play action like on that touchdown.
And we just saw a little bit of Nate Roberts there, the tight end, the freshman. Talk about another fun prospect at tight end. 6'5", 235, Washington, Oklahoma. 3 straight undefeated state championships for a 4-star recruit who initially committed to Notre Dame, decommitted a couple years ago, and was also a part of this group because he came in early. They got to see the title run.
Yeah, they do such a nice job here at Ohio State of letting you get to connect with the players. You hear some of their interviews. Nate Roberts said, as a mid-year enrollee, inside drill, which is probably the most physical drill in football, he was like, whoa, okay, there's some grown men here that I'm going up against.
And there he is making the catch. But the good news about defending, or I guess the bad news for everybody else, if you want to defend Max Clare, the best guy to do it might be Caleb Downs. Unfortunately for everybody else, he's on this team.
Well, you're exactly right. A rising tide raises all ships. Iron sharpens iron. Max Clare versus Caleb Downs. Think how much better they're going to make each other this offseason. Think about all, I mean, we only got so much time. I can't rattle off every Buckeye receiver, but there's a ton of them. I can't do the same for the secondary, but iron sharpens iron. The competition here in Columbus is only going to make them better.
Kienholz trying to load up, and now he's pressured into a scramble. Let's go down. Emeka Egbuka with Tyvis Powell.
Sitting here with Emeka Egbuka. This is the first game being played in the shoe since the Tennessee game. Do you miss it?
I do miss it. Special atmosphere out here in the shoe, and it's something that I got to keep reliving on my mind just to be able to get that feeling back. So it's definitely amazing. I'm super glad to be back here.
You declare for the NFL draft. What's that experience been like?
It's been amazing. This is something I've been working towards since I was young. So, try not to rush it, take it all in, enjoy it with my family. You only get this process one time. So, draft coming up here in 2 weeks. So, definitely trying to look forward to soaking in every moment.
I just want you to know that I ran a faster 40 than you. I ran a 4.46. What did you run?
I ran a 4.45.
Did you? Yeah. We got to check the Carfax on that one. We might need to race today to see if I still got it. Give us a young guy. You've obviously been in this wide receiver room for many, many years. Give us a young guy that maybe the world doesn't know about that we should keep an eye on. Yeah, I mean, obviously all the wide receivers, they're going to do their thing here at Ohio State, so kind of got to look out for all of them. But on defensive side of the ball, Jalen McClain, he's someone who came in with the right mindset as a freshman going into a sophomore year now, so I'm excited to see what he does. And now, all of a sudden, we have Max Clare, that's a tight end here. Obviously, we talk about the wide receivers that Ohio State has developed. What is it going to be like having an X factor at their tight end position? I mean, yeah, from what I've seen at practice, he's a dog. So I think it just makes it that much more difficult for defense to be able to game plan for everybody. So he's a huge addition to the team. Thank you. Appreciate you. And congratulations and good luck to your NFL career. Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
I do want to point out and highlight, we highlighted the offensive line in the run game. It's also true in the pass game. These quarterbacks have had all day to throw. Would love to see the defensive line step up and start generating some pressure.
Ooh, and there you go, Sonny Styles.
Right on cue. A little bit. Well, there's the guy to do it, Sonny Styles.
And the defensive line, to your point, I mean, they're going to play a one-gap defense. I mean, you have this area where you just have your gap and you allow linebackers to run through it. There's Sonny Styles right there in the middle. Watch him understand where the run is, just beat Luke Montgomery's block, and away he goes. And I think when you see the experience of linebackers, you saw that last year with this group, right, Jake? They could anticipate where the block is coming from. When you can do that at that position, and the experience of Sonny Styles is phenomenal.
Can I make another bold claim here?
Bring it.
I think Ohio State has the most athletic linebacker room in college football between Styles and Arvell Reese.
There's Jeremiah Smith with the catchers, the Buckeyes Award candidate, Sonny Styles.
Yeah, well, he can do a little bit of everything. Come off the edge. He can bring a little pressure on a quarterback. He gets his hands around the ball. He's got such a nose for the ball. He's extremely physical, great bloodlines, and he just loves this place. This is a guy who had a chance to also join Emeka Egbuka and many others to get drafted and said, no, I want to come on back. I want to cement my legacy here. Was honored with the Iron Buckeye Award. 3 players who really exemplify the hard work that is necessary to thrive in this program. Got that this offseason. I just love how he carries himself.
There's Max Clare out in the flat. Is it safe to say he'll be the guy with the green dot, the communication this year?
Well, I think he's going to be one of them. I mean, the thing with Matt Patricia and his defense, and we're not seeing it today, but we'll see it in the fall, because they did it at the Patriots forever, and Ohio State did it last year. They're going to play the best 11 wherever they are. So I think there'll be times where Sonny Styles will be a defensive end. He'll be a drop end. He'll be a Mike Backer. He can do a little bit of everything. Same thing with Caleb Downs and company. All the talent they have on this defense, big competition at the safety position as well. They're going to get the best 11 guys on the field, led by he and Caleb Downs.
There's all 4 defensive linemen. Of course, the guy that wore the Blocko, the 0 at linebacker, the captain, Cody Simon. That's part of this, too. Leadership. Need new captains. Luckily, they've got good candidates for captains. And Styles a part of it.
Jake, you referenced it earlier, the culture, being around this program last season on their run, here for the spring game, watching them throughout spring. It's such a competitive environment. And by that, it's not me versus you. It's how do we make each other better? And that, to me, is what the great teams, you reference dynasties in the open, they have an opportunity to do that. Because these guys come here, and when they don't play, they say, all right, I'm going to go play on special teams. I'm going to contribute in some factor, in some fashion, to allow this team to do something really dynamic.
Keene holds the throw here on 3rd down. And he loops that over the head of Smith, incomplete. It was Igbinosun in front, and Malik Hartford part of that competition with Jalen McClain to replace Lathan Ransom at safety. And we've got the end of the first quarter here. Our first look at the 2025, maybe the 25-26 Buckeyes. Plenty more still to come here from Columbus on the Big Ten Network. It was an unprecedented run last year through the playoff. 4 postseason wins for Ohio State. 16 games. Had the program record with 14 wins overall. And you've heard of ring ceremonies, but this is a rings ceremony. 3 rings inside the box. The championship ring, the semifinal ring, and then a ring for the Rose Bowl and the Tennessee game, all folded into 3.
Those are such big rings. It opens. Do you have trouble putting them all on one hand? You might have to do 2 on one and 1 on the other. Can you fit all 3 on one hand?
Do you wear them all at the same time? Might as well, right?
Right.
These are problems for the elite to try and figure out.
This
That's
is awesome. I mean, the rings, of course, are special in a memory. But Jake, you know this, being on teams, like just getting around the fellas again. I mean, this group of players on the field might not be together again on the same field for like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's going to go their own ways. The draft is coming up. Life will happen. And you see him just soaking it in, smiles everywhere.
Well, being there, you know, to cover the national championship and getting to talk to these guys and talk to Coach Day, that was such a unique and special season, and the way those guys rallied to dominate the way they did in the playoffs. I mean, that was some of the most dominant stretch of football I can remember ever seeing.
24 national champions.
Beat Tennessee at home by 25, beat Oregon in the Rose by 20, beat Texas in the Cotton by 14, and then beat Notre Dame in the national title by 11. And, you know, what's amazing is we are still closer to the last Texas game that Ohio State played than we are to the next Texas game that Ohio State's going to play when they play Texas in the opener. That's how long it's right. I mean, yeah, it's a 16-game season. So it was interesting talking to the coaches this week. Like, part of what happens in the spring and then into the fall may not all show up week 1, but it may show up January 10th when your depth is really getting tested.
Well, I think when you win, you get a taste of it. Right? Ryan Day's referenced it, Matt Patricia referenced it. You play longer than everybody else. So then you have this intensity, this sense of urgency to get back and really get focused down to business. And I think with this team that is currently here on the field, they're looking at the guys getting celebrated, and they see them and say, how impressive is this? We want to live up to the standard that you all have set.
So right now I'm sitting here with G. Scott. He's breaking them down to us. Look at these rings. First of all, you got to put your glasses on when you want to look at these, because it's so much jewelry. Look at that. And then it opens up, and it's got the confetti inside.
Official confetti.
Even when we won it in 2014, we didn't get this. I want to recount.
History made right here.
Was it all? It was all worth it, huh? All right. So what about this one right here?
That one right there, that's Texas. That's the cotton. That's Cotton Bowl ring right there. Cotton Bowl, and this one right here is a.
That's a CFP.
Yeah, that's a CFP.
This one looks very similar to what we got.
Okay, man. Hey, all I know, man, this is such a great blessing. So proud of this team.
You heard it here first. Thank you, G, for letting us see your rings.
Amazing. The official confetti inside the ring.
Just to put a bow on it, too, that roster was so veteran, and G. Scott is a guy alongside. We've talked to Ibuka, Travion Henderson, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. Like, those guys, Buckeye Nation got to see these guys from young recruits and develop all the way up into ultimately that peak of winning a national title. That's a team that's going to be remembered for a really, really long time here in Columbus and celebrated.
Julian Sayin back in at quarterback, trying to direct traffic here. And with defender bearing down on him, he dumps it down to Bo Jackson. Our first look at the freshman today, the number 5 running back in the nation.
What a name, too, for Bo Jackson. I'll tell you what.
Nickname, real name Lamar.
Yeah, there you go. Even better. Yeah, how about Peyton Pierce, though, at linebacker? I think when you look at this group, you referenced, you know, they lost a bunch last year and how athletic they are. Peyton Pierce, finally healthy. What a background. Like, I think every linebacker needs to have a wrestling background. You just watch how you have to take guys down in space. He was one of those guys, and really celebrated and lauded by James Laurinaitis, old Big Ten network, now, of course, coaching for Ohio State. But he's talking about how he does everything well. He comes to work with such a focus. He'll have a big role this year on this defense.
Some pressure there for Stan, who eventually has to toss it. Logan George, by the way, was 2 plays in a row has created pressure. The transfer from Idaho State off the edge.
Yeah, talk about pressure. That's been Logan George. And talk about Idaho State to Ohio State. 2 completely different programs, but effectively from the minute he walked on campus, he's been one of the more complimented players on the roster. Actually, Logan George and Peyton Pierce, I would say defensively, those 2 guys have been some of the most complimented players on this Buckeye defense.
It is interesting, right? For all of the new faces, most of them are in-house or high school recruit. Logan George is a rarity, right? You see new faces on a lot of teams. Often it's a lot of portal. That's not the case here. So even though there's a lot of new faces, the guys that have come up through this program are pseudo starters last year play a lot of snaps.
Right. That's the making of a champion. That's a championship formula. Even and a lot was made about Ohio State's roster last year and the funds and resources committed to it. For championship teams, the foundation has to be organically grown, recruited, and developed, and then you hit the portal for those key needs. Last year, you get a guy like Caleb Downs and Will Howard. Logan George is one of those guys helping reload the defensive line.
That cut loose and snagged by Mylan Graham. He had a couple opportunities in the end zone on catches he couldn't make, and he takes advantage of a chance here.
Well, look, we're not live today, but this is close to it again. There's a rush from both edges. Got to climb the pocket, sit in the pocket, and then deliver an absolute dime. Only spot that ball could go. And then the catch in coverage to your point guy against Aaron Scott. That is impressive. That's as close to game-like as we're going to see.
Good battling today.
That's saying at his best, though. Tight spiral, beautiful quick release, accurate.
And another one to the tight end, Jelani Thurman, who gets down into the red zone.
Think of this drive. You've got 3 plays to go. It's a check down to a back, feeling a little bit of pressure. Then it's the rip shot that we just saw to Graham. And then now a seam to your tight end. When quarterbacks can play in rhythm, that's when you can see them at their best. And for Julian Sayin, he's a rhythm player. He's a rhythm passer. Lincoln Kienholz, he's a guy that's really off-platform. When things break down, he can utilize his athleticism. But we're watching right now this second-year player in Julian Sayin playing some of his best ball for Ohio State.
Different type of throws. That one to Mylan Graham was a ripped-in, dart, accurate. The one to Thurman is a little bit more of a feathered, layered throw over the linebacker underneath the safety. So he's shown us a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think the best quarterbacks have to be able to tempo the ball. I mean, can you throw it firm with an arc, to your point? Can you put it on a line? Can you put some touch on it? Can you take something off it? I saw Julian Sayin at the Elite 11. He was the MVP of that a couple years ago coming out of high school. He has all the catalog of throws that are necessary to thrive at this position.
Bo Jackson, the freshman from Cleveland, only played 4 games his senior year of high school last year, the running back. And it's good to see him healthy and forcing his way into the end zone for a Scarlet touchdown.
Julian Sayin's just an impressive start here to this game. I mean, he's checking every single box, and there's been so much buzz since he transferred in from Alabama, highly touted recruit. Even last spring, he was generating buzz. Maybe he was competing with Will Howard, and he's been the first name. The media has kind of anointed him as the guy. There's a general consensus outside the program that it's his job to lose. Ryan Day is calling this a neck-and-neck battle. But so far, Sayin is having, I mean, you got to grade him as an A at this point.
Yogi nods. He says, yes, A. Go ahead and read the promo guy. Later today, catch Big Ten baseball when 17th ranked Oregon takes on Maryland. Live coverage begins at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app.
Yeah, I think for Ryan Day, to your point, Jake, it's a challenging decision to make because Lincoln Kienholz is a guy that thrives when it's live. Right? You look at his high school tape, you look at what he's done when he's been at Ohio State. You talk about a week ago, they went live in the scrimmage, and he was the story coming out of that thing. Today, as of now, Julian Sayin's going to be the story coming out of it. So that's the part as the head coach that you really have to get a feel for it. We talked to Ryan Day about it. He's been around a lot of elite quarterbacks. Think back to the Eagles with Mark Sanchez and Sam Bradford, or here his time at Ohio State with Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud and company. No quarterback competitions are exactly alike. It's such a feel from the head coach, offensive coordinator Billy Fessler, now the quarterback coach. It'll be a challenge for them.
And there is now our first look at Tavian St. Clair, the number 4 overall prospect in this 2025 class, 6'4", 225 freshman from just about 50 miles outside of Columbus. And you know, just like every other quarterback that comes into Ohio State, he comes in with so much of the same hype that all of his predecessors have had, maybe more. Sam Williams-Dixon, you spent a lot of time with him, Yogi, the Elite 11 camp. What stands out about Tavian St. Clair?
Well, the first thing is his size. I mean, 6'4", 250, 225, just absolutely physically imposing. Then two is the care factor. And in this world of college athletics, it doesn't just feel great when you say a guy dreamt of coming to this stadium and playing here. He's a kid who would watch Ohio State games when they'd lose. He'd be in tears. I mean, this is his dream to come and play here. When he got his offer, not only did he just say yes, but he started driving here to practice all the time. He'd sit in on meetings. He'd come and try to assess the offense and learn it and pour himself into it. And now he's finally here, dream achieved. He knows he's got a lot of work to do. But if there's one guy that's prepared for it, because this was a lifelong dream for him, it's Tavian. I can't wait to watch him continue to evolve in the quarterback room that he's in right now.
Seeing him at practice yesterday, physically, he was the most impressive of all three guys. And really, the story's interesting. This is a fascinating fact. He's the first Ohio quarterback to commit and play for Ohio State since Joe Burrow, right? There's a lot of talented players to come out of Ohio. When Ohio State offered him and when he started his recruiting, he wasn't the prospect that he was ultimately before he stepped on campus. Ooh, that's a an interception there to another freshman.
That's right, freshman to freshman, and Delane, who's talked so much about how much he loves to hit. This is the number 5 safety in the 2025 class. And Delane, you know, there was some depth at safety that's up for grabs, and Delane making an impact, and we'll see how Tavian St. Clair reacts to that.
Well, he'll bounce back from that. I think that's great about having a crowd here in this environment is you learn so much, especially as a quarterback. First time playing here for him. And what a nice job. Delane just jumping the route, saw it the entire time. And I'll tell you what, another guy that looks physically imposing. You talk to the staff about him, and they say, God, he loves to hit. He's a true thumper. He fits in the room. Big play. I'm sure that's going to give him even more confidence, Guy, to your point, of the competition at that position.
And there's kind of the duality of young quarterback play. We talk about how physically impressive he is. We talk about his astronomically high ceiling, but what Coach Day and what Coach Hartline says is just there's young guy mistakes that show up. That was a young guy mistake. It looked like it was off coverage outside. He thinks he has a free access hitch, but he didn't have eyes on Delane there, who just read Tavian's eyes and was able to pick the ball off.
Kienholz will give it off to Bo Jackson, who steps through a couple tackles and a third. A flag comes in. Jackson breaks through another tackle. And, you know, when you talk about projection, James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson, but can this freshman work his way into the rotation at running back is one of the big questions on offense.
That's one of the position battles to watch out for here is who's that third running back behind the two, Donaldson and Peoples. And he's got the name power in Bo Jackson, but there it is right there is what you have to, the great running backs, they take a play that's blocked for 4 or 5 yards and they turn it into an explosive 10, 15, 20 yards. That requires contact balance. That requires vision. Seeing a little bit of everything there with Bo Jackson.
He had 10 touchdowns in 4 games last year on 40 carries. And he was on his way maybe to being the Mr. Football in the state of Ohio before an injury ended his senior year. Luckily, no surgery was required. That ball cut loose at another catch for Mylan Graham, and a big chunk play for Kienholz.
Nice job from Kienholz. Little play action. I think it was the great Jim Tressel. He said you need a pair and a spare at the running back position. Heard Carlos Lachlan, the running back coach, reference that earlier this spring. Nice job with the eyes there, a little RPO. Where's the overhang defender? It's an easy read for Kienholz. Delivers a strike to Graham, who's having a little bit of a day as well after that one play in the end zone where he didn't make the catch for a potential touchdown.
Mylan Graham just has generated a ton of buzz this spring. He was a summer arrival last year, so all season it just felt like he was drinking out of a fire hose. Said coming into this offseason, the game has slowed down a little bit, and clearly talented. Now that the game slowed down mentally, some of that talent has been able to show up.
Brandon Innes wins that battle with Lorenzo Styles Jr. for the reception. 14 catches last year. Expect his production to go up in a big way this season.
And this kind of reminds me of Igbuka, kind of filling that slot role, a true technician. Remember, he was a 5-star. No surprise. You could kind of go down the roster, close your eyes, and point at a guy. Yeah, he was a 5-star all the way back in the day that just waited his time and waited for his opportunity. But just a true technician, plays the position well. He's a guy that could compete for 40 or 50 catches.
Now, once upon a time, Will Howard was not, and of course developed into one and a national champion. And what you're replacing here as Kienholz connects is 4,000 passing yards, 35 passing touchdowns, and Will Howard is down on the field with Tigers.
Right now, I'm sitting here with Will Howard, and we're just showing off a little bit of bling, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It looks good. He was so gracious enough to allow me to use one for this interview. When you look at these rings, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, man, it makes it feel real, you know? And, you know, it's been a long time coming for these rings. Been waiting on these things. But, you know, it's a combination of a lot of hard work, you know, a lot of sacrifice, and, you know, a lot of love. And that's what I see when I look at these things.
You know, when you left this quarterback room, obviously there's some young guys out there, but you know these guys because you did a season with them. What should we expect to see out of this quarterback room?
I'm excited for them. They got a lot of potential, a lot of young guys with a lot of talent, and you know those guys are all made up of the right qualities. They got the right makeup. They want to be here, and it takes something to be an Ohio State quarterback, and it takes a special, different kind of dude. And all these guys got it.
And out of those 4 games, obviously, it's one of the greatest stories we've ever heard.
Yeah.
What was your favorite win out of those 4?
I mean, the easy answer is the national championship, but there's something about that Rose Bowl, too, that just, you know, really stuck with me. I loved that game, had so much fun at it, and it was a little redemption story against Oregon, too. So, you know, I'd love to say all of them, but, you know, the Tennessee was cool, too, because it was here in the shoe. I can't go wrong. They're all great.
You don't want to try to get them one more year. The fans here love you. You don't want to do one more year in the Scarlet and Gray?
Believe me, if I could, man, I would. But you know, I feel like the way that we ended the season, the way that we capped it off, it felt like a storybook ending, man. So I'm glad we got to end it the right way. I wish I had more time here with Buckeye Nation, but you know, the best decision I ever made was coming here to be in a Buckeye.
Thank you, Will. Congratulations on winning the Natty, and best of luck to you in the draft.
Hey, one more thing. My dog, first quarterback in the draft, man. Stop playing. Y'all go draft him, man.
There it is. His hype man, Brandon Ennis.
You're going to give him the ring back? That's the real question. Keep an eye on that. Nice pass breakup there from Jalen McClain, part of that safety battle with Malik Hartford. Jalen McClain, one of 2 players on this defense whose dads played for Matt Patricia at Syracuse. Matt Patricia was the weight room volunteer assistant when Jalen's dad, Maurice, was at Syracuse. That's a great play.
Playing through the hands of the receiver is really tough down there in the red zone when you get turned around a little bit, understand where the eyes of the tight end was to play through it. That is going to be one of the highlights that they will show this defense when they look at this film.
Thurman is 6'6", 260 with long arms. He's one of the more physically imposing players on the field. So technically, for Jalen McClain getting in there, that's a big tight end and a great breakup.
Delay a game. Offense number 3. 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
This what Will Howard's talking about. It's not often somebody can ask, what's your favorite playoff game from a championship run? And there's 4. I mean, you look at the point differential there, 70 plus 70 points in 4 games. The closest game, the national title, was an 11-point game plus 607 yards. Ryan Day now 70-10 through 80 games. He's right on a year behind kind of Urban Meyer's win pace here, and 14 games away from passing Urban Meyer on Ohio State's wins list. Bryson Rogers, the intended receiver there.
I loved what Ryan Day said, whether it was on the Big Ten Network, whether it was on the set with Jimmy Fallon after they won the national championship. He just talked about this team's story from last year and how they all just wanted it to be written. And they knew if they could bounce back after a heartbreaking loss to their rival in Michigan and do what they were capable of doing, they'd have a story that was cemented forever. And now it will be. And it'll be a story about resilience, and not just about talent, not just about a roster and NIL. It's going to be about how this team really came together. And Ryan Day rightfully got the big extension and will be here hopefully for the remainder of his coaching career. And I think he's one of the greater coaches, you know, in all, not only college football now, but you could look at the last 20 years. The record would say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's on a pace, right? You go back, Ohio State has not had a full-time head coach, not counting the one interim year of Luke Fickell. But the last time they had a head coach who was not a future Hall of Famer was 1946. Right, so they're big shoes to fill when you replace a guy. Yeah, there's several pairs of big shoes to fill when you take over at Ohio State.
It speaks to the standard here in Columbus. I grew up in Pickerington, Ohio, about 20 minutes off campus, and the emotions of the people here in the city ride on the success or failure of this football team. And not only that, now you see Ohio State in a position to win going forward. It is a battle of resources across college football, Ryan Day and this Buckeye program, they have full commitment from a resource standpoint. They've recruited as well as anybody. Ryan Day now getting that title of a national champion head coach. I think that's a big deal for him mentally going forward.
You know, it's interesting when you say that. It felt like last year, and some of the players said it, right? Natty or bust. To put that pressure on themselves. That was the storyline. Then when we were talking just in preparation of this year, it's like just a normal pressure year. Like, you're supposed to win the Big Ten. You're supposed to go to the playoffs. You're supposed to win big things. And I think to your point of winning it like they did last year, I think it's allowed this team to reset a little bit and still recognize we still have a ton of talent. I think that's why it's been one of the most physical springs that Ryan Day has overseen in his time as the head coach.
But it's not what he planned to do.
No, exactly. Because he looked at his roster and said, hey, we had so many players play so many snaps. It was on special teams, what have you. But after a week, he was like, we need to play football. We need to be physical with one another. And I think that's only alluded to what you referenced earlier, Jake, of this competitive cauldron, this environment that just breeds on going and battling with one another for the common goal of winning a Big Ten and a potential second straight national championship.
A good coach should be fluid, and the other side of that is a receptive roster to that physicality. I mean, Ryan, you talk about all the young, talented guys. They want practice to be live. They want practice to be physical. They want competition. So it works both ways, and really that's just a positive sign for the program going forward.
Chase Breck there with the carry, the fourth year with the team. Young man who's not appeared in a game before, and now we're going with a little bit of pace here at the end of this first half for Tavian St. Clair. And a flag, some movement up front.
And not just for Tavian St. Clair guy, but for also Brian Hartline. I mean, these situations, and for Matt Patricia, like how you're calling 2-minute situations. And again, it's pretty vanilla.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
See the penalty there, but now it's navigating the clock, the play clock, the snap count, getting the call in.
Forcing a 10-second runoff.
Who's got the green dot? I appreciate that. No 10-second runoff. I like that. But these are the things you can't manufacture in training camp with the crowd, with the environments. These are great reps.
If you're wondering who writes the spring game rules, by the way, it's Ryan Day. Here's Tavian St. Clair breaking out, and he gets essentially touched down by Eli Lee. Gets the honor of wearing 33 this year on that defense.
Offense.
And so 2 timeouts remaining for the offense. Coming up, some big action here on the Big Ten Network. Don't miss men's lacrosse when the red-hot second-ranked Buckeyes square off with number 6 Maryland. That's next on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. So there you see Matt Patricia on the field. We're going to see, it's one of the interesting things, trying to figure out what's best. Brian Hartline in the booth for the first half. He'll be on the field in the second half.
It's great to see the pencil back too, right, for Matt Patricia.
No doubt. This is a 3-time Super Bowl champ. I mean, you think about this. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator last year. This year they bring in a defensive coordinator, 3-time Super Bowl champ. He's been a head coach. He's been a GM. He's been an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator in the NFL.
And he's a rocket scientist, too. That's how it all began. And just a great guy. You look at the coaching changes, and this is what happens when you have an elite season. And I love what Ryan Day did. He studied Nick Saban. He said, he lost a lot of guys. All right, how do we replace? We're going to stay with the same scheme, but we need to get elite teachers.
Here's St. Clair. That cut loose and incomplete coverage that time by Brenton Inky Jones. And now it's 3rd down. The clock stops at 52 seconds.
It's a compliment. When you have success, other programs are going to try to pluck from your roster. And he told us in the meetings, just even beyond the play callers, the assistant coaches. He wants all of his assistant coaches to have ultimate goals of being play callers. So really generally the consensus, bring in talented people, bring in experienced people that are competitive and want to rise and climb within their respective positions.
3rd down and long for St. Clair. Down the sideline and incomplete. Intended for David Adolph, the 4th-year walk-on. Spends a lot of time, a lot of good snaps on special teams for Ohio State last year. And now it's 4th down.
How great was it talking to Matt Patricia when we said, well, what made you want to go to college? He's like, well, when you walk into the building here and you see Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs, you're kind of like, hey, I'm good. I think this roster is pretty talented. And he's absolutely just loved his time here, being around young, fresh faces, and hearing the defensive players, Jake, talk about how relatable he is, how he teaches, spends time, just an elite communicator as a defensive coordinator, and cannot wait to watch them scheme up Texas in that Week 1 game.
You know, coming to college, there's college, but then there's Ohio State. They're
Exactly.
Okay, technically college, but probably closer to an NFL organization than a lot of college programs.
Joe McGuire to send it away to Brandon Innes. So 38 seconds, and the clock stops at 35. Speaking of 33, Jackson looks ready to hit somebody.
Always ready to hit somebody.
What a story, right? You knew him growing up.
Yeah.
He had idolized you, Jake. It was awesome to spend time with him during the run, and just the way that he did it. What a story. We were down there on the field when he had that sack cause fumble against Texas, watching him run down, and just the celebration was so special. He will go down in absolute lore here.
It was the fulfilling of a promise. I mean, Jack Sawyer at one point was the #1 recruit in all of high school, and when he gets to Ohio State, the goal is to win championships and win a national championship. And it might have taken a little longer than what he would have liked to get there, but doesn't take away at all from how special that season was.
Julian Sain gets it down to Sam Williams-Dixon, who's tackled by Devin Sanchez, who you guys mentioned a couple times, but even in this quick offense. Number 4 on the defense is a guy worth watching. The number 8 overall player in this class, and has made a push for playing time so far in camp this year. That's Desai Jones, another freshman.
Sain has looked extremely comfortable every single rep he's taken. And Coach Hartline, when we asked him what each guy does well, he said pre-snap, that's a big strength for Sain. And I think that's one of the most important predictors of success for quarterbacks. You've just seen that. Take the check down early in the 2-minute. Get that first down. Get the ball out towards the sidelines there on your next play to stop the clock. He's operating really comfortable right now.
Sain again. And his receiver fell down, and that was Quincy Porter. We've been waiting for Quincy to make a catch today. He's such a big story, the 6'4" freshman from New Jersey. A week ago, he lost his black stripe. The first freshman to shed the black stripe on his helmet. And he has really stood out from what the coaches have said in competition. He's made a lot of big contested catches.
Similar timeline with the black stripe to Jeremiah Smith. Similar build, 6'4", 205, long arms, maybe not as muscular yet as Jeremiah Smith. And, you know, I was waiting for him to make a play because my uncle coached him at Bergen Catholic out in New Jersey. So I've heard about him for a few years now. My uncle said this guy's going to be an absolute star and a stud. And it's an important point to make. Quincy Porter would start and be a star for, you see a little spring game scuffle.
Little shove.
Blow the whistles, back to the huddle. But Quincy Porter, a point. There's good blocking, too, as the screen. And
it's halftime.
Well, that's
Scott didn't like it, but
because that gets you kicked out of the game.
That'll get you. There you go.
That'll be attended to. And we got halftime. Quincy Porter's a stud.
That's the summer.
Yes.
There you go.
And he's getting under the defense's skin. It's been a fun first half. Still more to come here from Columbus. Back in Columbus, halftime of the Ohio State spring game. The Scarlet, the offense, taking on the defense in gray. Coming up, don't miss men's lacrosse when the red-hot second-ranked Buckeyes square off with number 6 Maryland. That's next, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. The second half of the Ohio State spring game ahead. Halftime here at the Ohio State spring football game. The Scarlet against the Gray. Scarlet the offense, Gray the defense. Great crowd and some pageantry. Let's listen into the Ohio State spring athletics band. performance. More coming up here from Columbus on a beautiful day. Ohio State's spring game continues here from the shoe, along with Yogi Roth and Jake Butt. Welcome you to the booth. I'm Guy Haberman. All right, Jake, what do we think so far of the 2025 Buckeyes?
Obviously, quarterbacks, I thought Julian Sand really shined. And I'll give credit to Brian Hartline. I felt like the play calling sequencing was smooth and operational the whole first half.
I thought both quarterbacks bounced back, right? Julian obviously played well. Keenholz, I thought after that first drive, he really settled in. And then Mylan Graham, he's kind of stolen the show a little bit, the wide receiver position.
All right, so much more to see. We'll get some more looks at these quarterbacks. Talk more about the projections on what was the #1 defense in the nation last year when the Ohio State spring game continues. Team starting to make its way back out for the second half of the Ohio State spring game. There was some discussion. It was initially called the Spring Showcase and specifically changed it to spring games because they want to play a spring game and get close to live action for these quarterbacks that are in the competition. Lincoln Keenholz and Julian Sand, and then of course the freshman Tavian St. Clair Yogi.
I think at least the first two, in Lincoln and Julian, to me, they played well. And again, this isn't live, so I think they'll come out of at least the first half. Julian Sand was spinning it. I think the element of Lincoln Keenholz's game isn't necessarily on display, being such a second reaction, QB run game type of guy. But overall, I think they both have shown a command of this offense. And then for the freshman, love the lessons learned in the first half. Can't wait to watch him come in the second half after throwing that interception.
Well, I'm interested too, how much that will matter going forward in terms of, what Keenholz brings to the table. Because really, when we talk about all the talent, all the wide receivers, the depth on the offensive line, as a quarterback, you just need to be the point guard. You need to be the distributor. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. And so far, just today alone, Julian Sand has done the best job of all three of the guys.
Yeah, and I think that's for this offense. He needs to be the point guard because of all the weapons they have. I mean, they have a litany of wideouts, tight ends, backs. That is the thing. So it comes down to your decision making, the discernment we referenced. And you're right, he has thrived in his first half here as a potential starting quarterback.
Tyvus on the field with Ryan Day.
All right, Coach, after that first half, what did you see out of your guys? What did you like?
I felt like Julian had a couple nice drives there and finished those things off well. I thought the offensive line has been moving the ball, moving the line of scrimmage pretty good. Running backs seem like they're running hard. Would like to see a little bit more out of that 2-minute drill at the end. But overall, it's like a typical spring game.
Yeah.
The parts that are good. The parts the other side, you have to kind of balance it out. But I think the guys are playing hard.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate you.
All right, you got it.
Ryan Day said at the beginning of this spring he's feeling more relaxed this year. I wonder if the players are feeling a more relaxed Ryan Day this season.
I think the intensity's always ratcheted up. I love what he said too about the spring game. He's like, if you watch the ones afterwards, you feel good. But then as you start watching everybody else, you're a little bit more stressed out. Of course, the portal opens up in a matter of days, so we'll see if they try to add any players to an already extremely talented roster.
Well, that is such a big X factor. And maybe it's part of the reason why teams have gone away.
It is the reason. Yeah.
Right? And yet here we are. So they've decided, despite all of that, despite all the reasons not to, they're choosing to.
Yeah, and I love that move for this team, and it is very clear under Ryan Day. If you want to be here and be a part of this thing, you will choose to be here. When you get recruited, we all know this, the plan here for an Ohio State recruit is to come here, develop, and then get drafted and have your degree. If you don't do that, as Ryan Day shared with us earlier this week, it's somewhat of a disappointment if you don't get one of those two things accomplished. So the players know the environment they're walking into. That's why I love them having this game, because you get to see players on the stage, which is the horseshoe.
Coming up July 12th, the BTN Big 10K returns to Soldier Field in Chicago. Scan the QR code or register right now at btnbig10k.com to be a part of the 10K or the 5K and the post-race tailgate party. Back tomorrow here, 12,000 folks have signed up for the Ohio State 4-miler, which starts at 10 a.m. and it ends at midfield. It finishes on the 50. And word is that Tyvus Powell is among the distinguished guest who's running 4 miles tomorrow.
Listen, let me let you know something. I decided to run that race a couple of years ago. It was the first time that I ever tried to do a 4K. and I got through it. It was not the easiest thing in the world, but crossing that finish line at the end, you truly feel like you accomplished something. I say all that to say, gentlemen, I retired my shoes. I threw them on the wire. I'm not going back out there, but I will be there to support anybody that does it tomorrow.
All right. This is the same man that 30 minutes ago challenged Emeka Egbuka to a race, but fine.
That's 40 yards is different than 4 miles.
I see you running on social media all the time, Tyvus. I feel like you're in peak shape right now for your long distance running.
You know, Jake, I'm trying to get back to my peak shape. You know, I got like 20 to 30 pounds to lose.
Lincoln Kienholz hands it off here to Bo Jackson, who was one of the stories of the first half, no question. The freshman whose brother is also now on the team, Ty Howard, who transfers in from Duquesne on defense from Cleveland. And we got an extended look at James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson in the first half. This will be a 12-minute third quarter with the clock up to Ryan Day. Mylan Graham off and running and gone for a touchdown.
It's an embarrassment of riches in this Buckeye wide receiver room. I think their second unit, which is led by Mylan Graham today, would start at the majority of schools across the country. And Mylan Graham, a young sophomore, clearly sky-high limit, generating a ton of buzz this spring and really putting a stamp on this spring ball with his performance today so far.
Playing wide out in between the hashes is not for the faint of heart. He's done it in a variety of ways, contested catches. How about after the catch there against Malik Hartford, one of the guys competing to be one of the starting safeties. Nice little move. Never really leaves his feet when he catches the ball across the middle, and away he goes for 6.
You know, just looking at Ohio State in pads, this is a physically mature roster. They don't have any wide receivers that look like they need to add weight. They have all their wide receivers look like college wide receivers or NFL wide receivers. Big, strong guys that are capable of catching the ball and doing something over the middle.
Body by Mariah, right? Isn't that what they say around here? It's so impressive what they've done in that strength department.
Guys have transformed their bodies. We talked about Onyanwa, their projected tackle, lost 30 pounds. C.J. Donaldson comes in from West Virginia. He lost 30 pounds. A bunch of these freshmen have added weight or lost weight depending on what they need. It's a credit to the strength staff.
There you saw offensive coordinator Brian Hartline now on the sideline as Phillip Bell, the freshman, makes that catch. And of course, Mick Marotti, the strength and conditioning coach, that whatever these guys look like now, they'll look even different the next time we see them in the fall. But to the point on Graham, that some of the talk in camp has been that he has come back more confident than last year, and that talk is looking like the real thing so far watching him today.
Part of that is, you know, we see some of these young freshmen that are early enrollees. So depending on when you get on campus is a big piece of that. For Mylan, he got on campus summertime last year. So everything just happens fast. You're going to school, learning, you know, a college academic schedule, then you're learning a full deep playbook. And it just, the season just moved so fast for him. And he's talked about how the game is mentally slowed down for him this spring. And once again, clearly physically talented, but that's that big jump freshman to sophomore year. Once you start to understand the mental side of college football, then you can really shine.
Part of what matters so much is where the depth is on the offensive line. I mean, it's incredible to win a national championship as they did last year, but to do it when you lose the Remington Award winner at center during the season, you lose your left tackle during the season, your left guard bumps out to left tackle during the year, and then you lose several of those guys. So what is the composition of this offensive line now in 2025?
They're in as healthy of a place as they've been in recent history. That's actually was a storyline last year, the year prior to that. This offensive line is deep. They got competition. And a key piece of this is the investment into coaches. Now the new NCAA rule, unlimited coaches allowed to participate on the field. They bring in Tyler Bowen, who was the play caller over at Virginia Tech. He's the head offensive line coach. I think that might be an interception
by Inky Jones. The pressure was there from Eric Mensah, and it is an interception.
That's a heck of a play.
That's a really nice play. Watch him just high point the ball.
Do we need Mike Pereira? No, that's clear.
I think we're good.
He's in bounds.
Just to put a bow on that point, though, you have unlimited coaches allowed now per NCAA rules. So you bring in Tyler Bowen from Virginia Tech. He's your offensive line coach and run game coordinator, also an asset to Brian Hartline. Then they go out and they get Marcus Johnson and Charlie Dickey, two guys with decades of experience coaching offensive linemen. It's a different position group from others because you have 5 guys on the field at once. So in the past, you have one coach trying to watch all 5 guys and coach up all 5 guys. Well, Ryan Day was intentional about having 3 coaches to account for that entire offensive line unit. Listening to the guys talk this spring, they said that's been extremely valuable for their development.
Julian Sayin at quarterback with the flip to Sam Williams-Dixon. And closing quickly to make that tackle is Riley Pettyjohn. And to talk more about the defense, let's go down to tie business with the unanimous All-American Caleb Downs.
Yep, I'm sitting here with Caleb Downs. Caleb, obviously y'all came off the national championship. What has it been like trying to get these younger guys to lock in?
It's been a positive for me just to be able to take a leadership role in helping people and helping the guys try to grow every day. And I think we've done that this spring. We've gotten better from where we started at, and there's going to be more to do. So,
what have you seen out of these young guys? We got 2 picks on the day.
Very competitive. I like our young DBs. They've made a lot of plays, and they're going to continue to get better. So it's been good.
You've talked a lot about playing the offensive side of the ball. We know that you're a dynamic punt returner. Is this the year that we see you get some carries?
I mean, that's not up to me. That's up to Coach Day and them on the offensive side. But, I mean, I'm going to just do my job, and whatever they ask me to do, I'm going to do it at the highest level I can.
Sounds good. Now, when you think about this upcoming season, obviously a lot of people say that you're one of the best defensive players. What is something that you're looking to improve upon this season?
I mean, all-around football player is something that I hold myself accountable to, being able to do it all. I feel like, the most basic things, tackling, coverage for DB, those can be things that always can get better, and then playing better in zone and stuff is always a good thing.
And you got a new defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia. What has it been like working with him?
It's been great. It's been a learning experience for me because he's been in the league so long, so it's a great chance for me to see what that league does and everything that they do. And I've taken advantage of it, and I will continue to try to learn from him.
Thank you. Good luck to this season.
Well, you say you want to be an all-around football player. Being a finalist for the Thorpe, the Bednarik, the Lott, I would say that is an all-around football player. And Yogi, what do you say? Best defensive player, best player in the country?
No doubt. I think when you look at the diverse elements of his game, they just continue to stand out. I mean, just go to the back half of the season. He played the deep third. He played at linebacker. He played in coverage. He was physical at the point of attack. He made plays with the ball in the air. He had a punt return for a touchdown on this field against Indiana. I mean, he can do everything. I think he's the most dominant player on defense in America. I think he was drafted today. He'd be a top 5 pick. I mean, he's that special. And when you have the best player on defense in the country on your team, and you have to replace 8 guys who are going to get drafted in the NFL, that's a good thing because now you know what that standard is, and he is that. You can tell how serious he is with every interview, how he practices, how he approaches the craft. I love how he plays, and I think his story's just getting going here at Ohio State.
He's a Swiss Army knife, and a big piece of Matt Patricia's defense is versatility. You talk about putting the best 11 on the field, which means guys need to be fluid in order to accomplish that goal. Well, Caleb Downs can do just about everything. How about a Heisman campaign this year? I mean, potentially a Heisman campaign. I would not be shocked to see him and Jeremiah Smith both competing for that trophy.
Julian Sayin taking another shot, and it is broken up. What a play from Lorenzo Styles Jr. against Mylan Graham, the guy who's been the most productive receiver today. You know that Caleb Downs is going to love that.
It's such an impressive play. Number one, let's go Graham. He comes back to the ball. And then Styles to not have a PI and still play through the hands. That's, you could tell when you're watching tape, like how well are guys coached in the back end. You see him there talking to the coaches in the secondary. The defense just on Matt Patricia. That's an immaculate job, guy, of understanding not to get the PI, where the eyes are of the wide receiver, and then playing through the hands to get the incompletion.
Just to add, too, understanding situations. It was 3rd and 17. They put Milan on a double move, and Lorenzo stayed patient, didn't bite on the double move, knowing it was 3rd and long, and that's why he was in such great position to finish that play.
That punt from Nick McLarty. You know, one thing we saw during that last sequence too, twice, and Matt Patricia's talked about it a lot. James Laurinaitis has talked about it a lot. Number 11, C.J. Hicks on this defense. What role he could play this year in a new role, moving from linebacker to defensive back.
Well, they want him to be an every down player, right? You're coming from linebacker, you're seeing the game through linebacker eyes, safety eyes, meaning you're a little further away from the ball. Then you get to the line of scrimmage. Now you got to see it differently. So all spring long, C.J. Hicks has stayed after practice with Matt Patricia and company, Larry Johnson and company, and just working on the little nuances of hand placement, working through a block. I think we'll just see tremendous growth as he continues to just get reps in practice at that position, because he's physical, he's explosive, and they need somebody that can be a game wrecker coming off the edge. He's got the tools to potentially be that this fall.
He looked most comfortable last year just going downhill. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, an instinctual player. When they had him at linebacker, the more they sent him downhill in blitz pressures is when he looked most comfortable. Now the natural move is to put him there at edge. You know, maybe they would love, Ohio State would love to see an Abdul Carter type jump going from linebacker to edge.
Well, that throw uncorked and on the money from St. Clair, and the hands of Quincy Porter on display as he makes his first catch of the spring game. Freshman to freshman.
Well, you call it pace. I call plays after critical errors, right? 2 picks for St. Clair. Come on back, step into the throw with confidence, throw it to a talented fellow freshman, and away you go, move the sticks.
Really good freshman on the field right now. Coming off the right edge is Zion Grady, the freshman pass rusher. Another catch for Quincy Porter. Big recruiting weekend, of course. Some of the best players, some of the best recruits in the country are here watching a group of guys that are some of the best players in the 25 class.
So we talked about the transfer portal and the era we're in, where a lot of teams are worried about their players leaving if they're not getting starting experience. Well, Quincy Porter would start at every school in the Big Ten and be a featured wide receiver. Devin Sanchez would be a starting corner at every school in the Big Ten and be an elite player for them. Those guys chose to come to Ohio State, as we see some of that dual threat potential with Tavian St. Clair running the ball. Those 2 guys choosing to come and compete to Ohio State is almost the opposite of what most programs are dealing with, and it speaks to the culture that Ryan Day has built.
Yeah, look, Emeka Egbuka is an example. He told us that in advance of the college football playoff. He came here not because he knew he'd play as a freshman, because he knew he'd develop as a freshman, then walk out of here and be the best version of himself. And I think with those young players we saw on that list, they all were at the CFP experience. 4 games being around this veteran roster. I think it's one of the unsung storylines. They see it again. What a shot from St. Clair again, back to Porter.
It's a really nice route, too. I mean, clearly they're excited about him with how they're targeting him. Win at the line of scrimmage. Quincy Porter 6'4", so the ball is in a great location up top for him to go make that play.
Jake Alcantara quarterbacks, can the ball finish on the face mask? That ball literally finishes on the face mask. This is a great shot by our crew. The revolutions of the ball. Octavian can spin it. Did it there, firm with an arc over the corner in front of the safety. Huge conversion, and he's playing with confidence.
Maybe a little dinged up as he got off the field and getting a moment there over on the bench. So hope that he's all right. And that play is blown up immediately by Joey Velasquez. Velasquez, a rare honor, a back-to-back national champion 2 years ago at Michigan, and of course this last year here at Ohio State.
He might be the only one in history to be able to say that. Back-to-back national champions for 2 different teams that happen to be rivals. What a beautiful picture if you want to be a physical, tough-nosed linebacker. Chance to go meet Bo Jackson in the hole. He's had a nice day, so that's a nice rep for the defense there.
Sam Williams-Dixon back in at running back now. St. Clair, plenty of time, and on the move. And he'll tuck it and run, closing out on him. A defensive line, we talk about the edges, right? But what about the interior? If running the football is part of winning, stopping the run is the same. And it's not just the star edges, right? Look at that defense. Ty Hamilton and Tylee Williams, the 2 defensive tackles, also gone from this defense.
Ryan Day, that's been a position group that Ryan Day has challenged, and the depth is a question mark at this point. Talk about a long season and playing here in the Big Ten where teams are physical and want to run the football. You have to have playmakers there in the middle of your defense. I will say Edric Houston made the move from edge to the interior last season. He was a former 5-star. I think he has a chance to be really, really special. But again, it's the depth behind those guys that'll be key.
Pressure up the middle that time from the walk-on Ahmed Tankara. Sophomore. Caden Curry, he's a senior. There are guys, and this goes back to the point you made earlier in the show, Jake, like maybe there's not as many snaps, but they're not freshmen either. And Caden Curry is a senior. Houston's a sophomore. Kenyatta Jackson a senior. Caden McDonald a junior. And Caden Curry said it, we want to prove again that we're the best defensive line in the country.
Inexperience doesn't necessarily mean youth. Now there's youth and talent, but it's a mixed bag of guys that have waited their turn, experience, now get the chance to be a starter alongside an injection of talent with some young, fun freshmen.
So here's a long field goal attempt for Jaden Fielding. Of course, he's been perfect today, both on extra points and field goals. A long try of 43 yards. And he got it. And that's great to see. You think about the year that he had last year, missed a couple of games at the end of the year, the Michigan game, 1 against Tennessee, bounced back, made 2 against Oregon in the national title. And he said it was a trying year, no question. He revealed he played most of last year with a torn hip. And so hopefully health will also lead to the consistency that he said he's seeking.
And I'll tell you what, for kickers, it's all mentality, right? And at the core of optimism is resilience. And what he went through last year, navigating pressure to make kicks, obviously the vitriol when you don't make one, to be able to bounce back and do what he did against Notre Dame in the national championship game, just excited for him. And what he revealed this past week about the injury guy, to your point, you just root for players like that. It's great for him to share that with his fan base, just so passionate about this program.
He said this week his confidence is 10 times higher than it was last year. Wow. Great second effort there from Bo Jackson. That looked like it was going nowhere. Jason Moore had stuffed it up along with Tywone Malone, and Jackson was able to fight for positive yards. And that is the end of the third quarter.
That is the end of the third quarter.
Here at the Ohio State Spring Game, the defending champions preparing for the 2025 season. Back at the Ohio State Spring Game. Start of the fourth quarter here, where we'll have a 10-minute clock that runs and stops as organized by Ryan Day. Here is the upcoming schedule. Texas to open it up, then Grambling, Ohio, then a week 4 bye before conference play begins with Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, a bye again, then Penn State, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan. Notably, no USC, no Oregon. Among the teams they don't play.
Well, won't have to wait very long to find out about all these new pieces. And Brian Hartline as a play caller and Matt Patricia coordinating this defense. Talked about in the open, it's now you're the defending national champions. They got the talent on this roster to make a deep run, and that Texas game, big benchmark for this roster.
Yeah, I love the opener for this team. Remember last year, it wasn't until the road game against Michigan State that you really could find out what is Ohio State. Now I think with the longevity of the season, the expanded playoff, it's okay if you don't come out and drill Texas or even win the game. It's all good. It's a long season, but you find out reality real fast. Who can play on the interior offensive line? Who can be an edge rusher? What can your quarterback do? And I think it's going to set this team up, as you saw the schedule, the next 2 games, then a bye. And then who are you going out to Seattle to face Jed Fish and company?
Nate Roberts, the freshman tight end, with the tough catch from Lincoln Kienholz there. Also don't play Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, no Nebraska on the schedule this year.
I think something you see the offensive line, that's even Aniawa at left tackle, but how about this man right here, Austin Saravel, not only is he extremely versatile, he can play literally everywhere on this offensive line, Jake. He also is one of the 3 that won that Iron Buckeye Award, which is the toughness, all the intangibles, but he's waited his turn. He's now sitting in the front row. He's doing all the things that are necessary. And a huge part of this offensive line, as you know, is the physicality. And it's also how they train them. You have a primary position, you have a secondary position. I think it's going to be great for this offensive front as they have to go through a long season.
Such an important piece, and Ohio State got a crash course in the importance last year, losing Josh Simmons, a first-round tackle, and saying, hey, Donovan Jackson, you're our guard, an All-American guard. We got to bump you out there. Oh, and you got to block Abdul Carter for your first big test. So Ryan Day talked about that. Each offensive lineman has 2 positions now, so they're cross-training them. Again, it goes back to the value of now having 3 offensive line coaches in that room. So there's been a significant amount of time and resources invested into the trenches.
You know, it's pretty cool hearing from the players where they said, hey, we come back, we win the national championship, and then we have our first team meeting. And you remember that from a player. You get in there for the first time, and all your boys aren't there anymore. And especially from a team that just won it. And for Austin, he said, that's when it really hit me. Like, you can't look and find Mr. Jackson anymore and say, what are we doing on the offensive line? Like, Seth McLaughlin is no longer here on the offensive line. Like, it's on you. And he just owned it and stepped right into it. And so many of these players have done that had roles last year, but now they have the leading role coming into this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's not, hey, you're a part of this. It's actually, hey, this is your team. This is your unit.
Let's see if the offensive line gets a chance to do something here. 4th down and 1. And Keenholz will give it, and the line creates plenty of space for Bo Jackson, off and racing, before he's finally pulled down by Malik Hartford.
This interior, go ahead, Jake. This interior defense or offensive line is so impressive. Watch that group right there as the play unfolds.
There's your left tackle too, Onyanwa, the transfer. He's been behind some key blocks. The tight ends mixing it up as well.
No Will Kaczmarek today, right? Or maybe the best blocking tight end in the country. Some around this program will say, so we should know that was Maxwell Block with the block.
Yo, you said it earlier. One of the key points in Ohio State's season last year that was just kind of a turning of the tide, the 4-minute drill to close out the game against Penn State, where they're loading the box. Everyone knows the Buckeyes are going to run it, and yet they could not stop it. We've seen some nice holes open up.
Offense number 3, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
The offensive line is physical, and again, I'll go back to Coach Mariotti, their strength coach. These guys are 310, 320, 330. They're lean. I mean, seriously, these are good-looking athletes up front.
Yeah, Ethan Onyanwa, you referenced earlier, lost 30 pounds when he showed up here. And he was a guy that would have projected out to the NFL. And again, he played for Mike Bloomgren, who's now the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns. He said he could come to the NFL right now, but he wanted to come here and continue to develop. The play action.
And the touch to LeBlanc, who's got a 1st down, and a block out in front from Quincy Porter. Good to see Porter back, who limped off a little bit earlier. He was able to get out in front there and create some space.
That's the sequencing too by Brian Hartline. The ability to break open some runs. All of a sudden you get into play action. We've seen that a number of times here in the spring game. It's the value in investing into these trenches. If you can run the ball, it makes everything else easier. And again, easy completions for your quarterback too there on those boot actions.
So many weapons, right? I mean, you just got to distribute.
Keenholz wide open out of the backfield. The running back Williams Dixon with the touchdown.
Does a really nice job, Keenholz. You know, you get to the line of scrimmage, you assess what's the front, what's the defense, what's my indicator, watch his eyes. He knows from jump. It's man-to-man coverage. Who's on the back? He's going to beat the backer. No problem. Easy pitch and catch touchdown.
Again, for Brian Hartline, the setup too is you shift the tight ends. They're on the left side. You shift them over to the right. The tight ends have been heavily involved in this drive. You run them both on crossing routes away from the action and then leak your running back into the flat. Scheming open, easy completions for your quarterback. Brian Hartline having a great day.
Yeah, the extra point good. Right now, get $4 off a Big Ten Plus monthly subscription and stream the remainder of the non-televised spring season featuring men's and women's lacrosse, baseball, softball, men's volleyball, beach volleyball, and tennis. Scan the QR code that's on the screen right now, or go to Big10Plus.com to subscribe and make sure you enter SPRING Spring 4 when selecting a monthly pass at checkout to take advantage of this offer. Let's go down to the field. Tyvis with Jeremiah Smith.
That is right. I am with Jeremiah Smith, one of the best players in college football. What's something that you look to improve upon this season?
Something I want to improve on this season is, just getting a better understanding of the game. That's one of the biggest things me and Coach Hartline talked about. That's one of the biggest things I want me to improve on, just getting a better understanding of football, and yeah, that's one of the things for sure.
And you losing a guy like Emeka Egbuka, now you're looked at as one of the leaders. How has it been trying to be more vocal?
It's been a challenge. I'm not the talkative type of person. So just stepping out of my comfort zone, that's been the biggest thing. This winter and then going into the spring, being more of a leader. Guys aren't in the locker room want to see me talk and be more of a leader towards the younger guys and people on the team as well. So that's probably the biggest thing, being more of a leader.
And how hard is it to block out the noise? I mean, everybody's talking about you great. I seen you at Student Appreciation Day. You had everybody in Columbus around you. How does it feel to try to block out that noise?
I think I do a pretty good job at it. Just blocking out all the things people say about me, all the distractions, everything. I just stay level-headed. Just because I had one great year, you can't fall back on that and think, oh, I made it or I'm good. No, I have to keep improving, keep getting better. So yeah, that's one thing for sure.
Appreciate you, JJ. Congratulations on the national championship and good luck to you for this rest of this year.
Thank you.
Those some great, honest answers. That was cool.
He's mature, and really he's achieved rock star status here in Columbus. Heard Coach Hartline talk that he's got to be the bad guy or the villain sometimes. Everybody wants Jeremiah Smith's autograph, and just not enough time in the day. So.
Little play action, St. Clair, and it's snagged by the freshman Nate Roberts for a big gain.
How about Davian St. Clair? He's not going to be the headline coming out of this game in terms of all the media coverage. But I think walking away for us, it's going to be his bounce back ability, right? Throws 2 picks, wants both of them back, and he's just throwing with confidence. I mean, a lot of young freshman quarterbacks aren't standing strong in the pocket like he is. He has ripped the ball time and time again, and you just go back to the coaches. I go back to Billy Fessler. I mean, he's a rising star in this industry, coaching the quarterbacks. Will Howard raved about him a year ago. Chip Kelly goes to the Raiders. Billy gets elevated, coaching the QBs now, and a huge part of this position, as we all know, is above the shoulders. And at some point in your career, you drop your shoulders. You're like, okay, I belong. I feel like this moment in the second half, this drive, the previous drive for Tavian St. Clair is like, yeah, I actually can play at this level.
1 of 7 at halftime with a pick.
Yeah. Right. I think another element to talk about is Brian Hartline calling plays. You reference the sequencing, whether he's been up in the booth or down here on the field. Jake, I think all of it is about how you see the game. And for him, he spent his whole life down on the field. Right, so he's coached from down on the field. When he's a receiver coach, obviously he's a player. So that's his lens. Some coaches that call plays can just see defensive line. They can see coverage. They can see rotation a little better. You're up in the booth, and you might as well be on an island. You can't hear anything, you can't feel anything, and there's a different stoicism in that regard. So I'll be curious to see where they net out once they get to the season. If he feels as though he can see it real clean and clear and get support from up above from Keenan Bailey, the co-OC tight ends coach, or does he feel like he needs to be up there as well?
Don't forget, coming up next, men's lacrosse, a big-time matchup. Number 6 Maryland here in Columbus, taking on number 2 Ohio State across campus. It is in just a few minutes following the conclusion of this spring game.
Back to Coach Hartline, too. The ball, there's one football. It's always going to be an issue here in Columbus with how much talent they've had, but each quarterback in first, second, third unit, the ball has been spread around to a number of different weapons.
Well, Carnell Tate said it. He said, well, Coach Hartline's got the keys now, so that means more balls for us, the receivers. But I don't know if that's where it's going to go.
The tight ends have got involved, too, yeah. So I'm rooting for that always.
I think when you have elite roster and the talent that they have here, I think the players, they love it because it's like, I'm going to earn my touches. And it just makes everything better. Like, we came out here in training camp, Jake, and the practices were at a premium. Even earlier this week, you feel the competition. And again, I think in some places around the country, competition could be seen as me versus you, who wins that rep. But here, it's we are going to make each other better because we know Jeremiah Smith, I'm the best receiver in America. And on the other side, Caleb Downs, I'm the best DB in America. We get to battle every single day.
Offense, number 74, 5-yard penalty, second down.
And ultimately, it's just a reflection of Ryan Day and how he's communicated what the culture is going to be here, and just love where this program sits now in this new era of college football, how they'll move forward, and how they'll even navigate their roster.
Bodpen Miller, one of the young freshman receivers from Ontario High School, an hour away, getting an opportunity, played defense and quarterback in high school. What a great story he is. Tavian St. Clair looking the other way, and that's through the hands of Dorian Williams. But Bodpen Miller, adopted at late age 5, age 6 from Ethiopia, and stayed in close contact with his family back there, and has so much pride, not just for his birth country, but now being a part of football here in this state, where he was an elite high school player, as you would expect. This is a guy who showed up with 35 credits. He's academically already a sophomore. He's a true freshman. His freshman football season hasn't even started yet. That's the level of not just player, but person that Ohio State gets.
Take as many of BP Millers as you can.
That's right. St. Clair pressured into a sack. A flag comes in as well.
That's one of just a handful. Not been many great pass rushes by the D-line today. The offensive line has really dominated up front, and I know the quarterbacks aren't live, and that part's hard to evaluate, but that's really the first time, and that was a coverage sack.
Well, I got to imagine when week 1 shows up, we'll see dramatically more twists, stunts, loops. I mean, we haven't seen any pressure. It's been really vanilla defensively, but you're right. On this offensive line, they've held up in their one-on-ones for the most part. Defensively, you're finding out, can we match you strength for strength, speed for speed? So that element has been fun to watch on the line of scrimmage throughout this afternoon.
Perfect day for Jaden Fielding, by the way. Same operation from last year. Long snapper John Frohlman, the punter Joe McGuire holding, and Jaden Fielding with the field goal.
Might be the last drive here. Looks like Julian Sayin is heading out to the field.
Well, Ryan Day said he didn't like the 2-minute offense at the end of the first half.
Oh, I got to imagine if we had a mic on Coach Day right now, he's setting the stage. Okay, here's the deal. We've got all of our timeouts, 1:10 left. He probably changed the score up a little bit and gave him a certain situation to try to master here in the final portion of this game.
Been a good day for Julian Sayin so far, and he completes the first play of this drive to Quincy Porter.
Yeah, and he looks so comfortable. It's everything pre-snap. He's decisive. He's anticipating. He knows where he wants to go with the ball before the snap. But look at the communication here, getting the other 10 guys set up and ready to go. Decisive.
Roberts with a first down.
Yeah,
tight end.
I think so much about this position, Jake, and you know as man is, the command doesn't have to be the loudest guy always in the room. It doesn't have to be that type of personality. The command can be because you're dramatically accurate, because you can be lethal as a passer, because your precision is so on point. That's what we've seen today from Julian Sayin. That's how he was advertised coming out of high school, going to Alabama, and then coming here to Ohio State. And that has all been, you know, 9-10 to me all day long watching him operate.
Pressure coming up the middle from Logan George, and a big sack for the Idaho State transfer.
To Yogi, that was a stunt right there.
Yep.
One of just a handful we've seen today.
Taiwan Malone.
I think that's the part why they wanted him live a week ago. Like, how do you deal with that? Because right there, if it's a 2-minute opportunity, what can't you do? You can't take the sack. Right? You got to find a way to throw the ball away, whatever it might be. And that's going to be the challenge for Ryan Day and company of figuring out who the guy is. I can't imagine he'll go live in training camp, but they'll do as close as possible because they want to put him in as many of those situations like they'll see when they kick this thing off against Texas.
Well, Ryan and Coach Hartline, what they tell us, that consistency was the most important word. And, you know, I think about that. You know, there's
at quarterback.
Yeah. Yes, you know, you're playing with a different O-line unit, different receiving core, different running backs depending on first, second, third team. So how consistent is your process is how I interpreted that. Which guy is doing what he's coached to do regardless of all the external circumstances.
He's playing with a mix of that right here. Some threes on the offensive line. So to your point, time and space, time and score, time on task, understanding the whole big picture. That is what a quarterback has to do. I mean, Will Howard learned the lesson when they were on the road at Oregon. He said it was one of the greatest things that he learned as a quarterback in his entire career. Look what he did from that moment on.
Sayin into traffic, was moving deftly in the pocket, couldn't connect it with Max LeBlanc.
Now, great pass rush by Tywone Malone Jr., number 95. Watch the D tackle here working one-on-one. This is what we've been wanting to see here in a 2-minute situation. You're expecting pass. Can you win your one-on-one matchups? And there you go on the interior. Key position group to watch. Malone Jr. Nice sack, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to qualify here.
I don't know. Julian was moving pretty nice in that pocket.
Yeah. Maybe he turns it a little tighter, though, in the game.
So now 3rd and 22, 29 seconds remaining. Sayin trying to set up the screen. Defensive line recognized it, and then LeBlanc unable to hold on. Now 24 seconds.
This is the best part of spring games because this is like the Ryan Day rule. It's like you can do whatever you want. What's the situation? Is it a 4th down? Where are we in the game?
It does feel like the intensity has been turned up a little bit. Yeah.
I think the D line is coming off the ball.
See where he goes with this. Quincy Porter down at the bottom of your screen.
Sayin, deep drop pressure and the 2nd sack of the series for Logan George. Don't forget, big lacrosse matchup coming up next with Maryland and Ohio State, a top 10 matchup. 6 versus number 2 here in Columbus. So what are we going to get here in the last 14 seconds? Ryan Day orchestrating.
This is great. I mean, you can't get enough of these types of situations, not only for the offense, but really for the defense. So now you're a defense and you're backed up. How are you going to navigate end of game scenario, 14 seconds? And I'm sure Coach Day down there is saying, hey, it's a 1-score game. We have the lead, maybe we're up 6, whatever it might be right now. You're trying to set a mentality for this defense, and I like it because young Zion Grady is going to be coming off the edge. So putting some young players in these situations here at the end of the spring game.
Tavian St. Clair back under center, or from the gun, not under center.
Yeah, Bo Jackson in there at running back. The defense really stepped up to the challenge in that 2-minute opportunity. Here's Phillip Bell getting out of bounds at the 14-yard line.
Great job by Bell, freshman from Mission Viejo, California. Out route, again, knowing the time, what the clock is. Don't try to dance and cut back. Just get out of bounds.
There's some natural zip to Tavian St. Clair's pass.
It's been it, man.
Yeah.
This is a really healthy quarterback room. I mean, watching all 3 today, I think they've all had their moments. The most consistent, we would agree, is Julian Sayin. But the bounce back in Tavian St. Clair, I mean, you got to feel good if you're Ohio State and this coaching staff. First 15 days, him donning this uniform.
St. Clair directing traffic pre-snap. And that is caught. Nate Roberts has had a nice day. That's a first down.
There's always that thing, freshman to freshman. Remember that your first year? It's like, hey, you got the quarterback, find your guys, you come in, you've trained together, you've worked out together, back to back to youngsters.
I was going to say, you know, you ride the bus to class together, but now they got NIL money and probably car deals, so.
Or at least electric scooters.
Yes. Mopeds.
Porter down to the bottom of the screen. Keep an eye on him.
1st and goal. St. Clair looking that way, and instead it is Phillip Bell with the catch. He beats Fahim Delane, freshman to freshman, beating a freshman for the score.
Great location, too.
That is the end of the 4th quarter. That is the end of the game.
50 points for the Scarlet, which is the offense, against the Gray. And zone 6, that receiver group, they were in there today. And a good way for Tavian St. Clair to end it as well. Let's go down to Tyvus.
All right, Coach. Spring ball is officially over. What did you see out of your guys?
I feel like guys were, competing, getting after it, giving good effort. Got a long way to go. Long way to go.
Coach, everybody talks about the players that's left. You also lost 2 coordinators. What did you see out of your coordinators this spring?
Well, I think for the first, spring here, Matt's really done a nice job of building relationships with the guys. Done a great job in recruiting. We were just running 2 defenses here today, so didn't get a chance to see everything that we're going to be doing. It's going to be exciting in the fall. And I think, Brian really understands, we've been together for a long time, so it'll be a collaboration. But I thought, for the first spring, he did a nice job of calling the plays.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck to you the rest of the way.
Thanks.
All right, let's listen into Carmen, Ohio. Defending champions, and Ryan Day's got plenty to work on, but this was a great first look at the defending champs.
Stage is set. Can't wait to see this thing kick off.
The talent's there. They got their goals on a repeat guy.
140 days before they play Texas right here. That'll wrap things up for the Ohio State spring football game. Coming up next, we go across campus. Men's lacrosse, number 2 Ohio State and number 6 Maryland.